excited to talk about second language acquisition development from this video on. From this session onward, I would like to touch upon many issues related to second language development. All the discussion I'm going to introduce you to is based on my paper published in 2018 in Handbook of Advanced Second Language Acquisition. So if you want to know more and learn the details of these topics, please come to my website and you can download and read free copy. So let's start out with this very popular, still dominant theoretical view in the field of second language acquisition. And also probably this corresponds to a very popular idea among practitioners, especially those who have started learning foreign and second language after puberty. This is called behaviorism. What is the behaviorism account of second language acquisition? So according to this view, language acquisition is all about a formation of habits. In the context of second language acquisition, it's about learning new habits, which are about second language structures and rules. And you're unlearning what you're already used to in the first language. In this regard, what's really important is the contrastive analysis. You compare L1 versus L2 systems and see where you can see overlaps versus differences. So when it comes to the similarities between L1 and L2 systems, these features and structures must be easy to learn because all you do is just to transfer from your L1 to L2 versus when you find the differences between L1 and L2 systems, that's where difficulty comes into play. So you need to actually forget and learn what you're used to in the first language, and you need to learn new habits in second language. Probably the one most straightforward example of the contrastive analysis is the compared segmental inventories across different languages. For example, English, depending on which regional dialects you're referring to, this language has 12 to 16 vowels and 24 consonants. French has 11 vowels and 20 consonants. Spanish, 5 vowels and 17 consonants. Japanese, 5 vowels and 12 consonants. So if you're a native speaker of Japanese, if you want to learn English, all you do is compare how many vowels exist in English, but not in Japanese. And the same is true for the number of consonants. And then if you find the new sounds existing only in the second language system, these sounds are supposed to be difficult. Luckily, if you find that certain sounds which overlap between L1 and L2 systems, okay, these are easy to master. So now I would like you to rethink critically about this very popular idea and opinion among researchers and practitioners in the field of second language acquisition. How much would you agree with this statement? Certain L2 sounds are difficult to master because they don't exist in the first language systems. 1, I totally strongly agree with this statement. And 5, I don't agree with this statement at all. And 3 is it depends. This is the most popular sort of favorite answer, especially among researchers. Very important, I'd like you to be critical, meaning I'd like you to justify why you feel so. It would be amazing if you can back it up with any kind of research evidence. In the next video, I would like to give my opinion on this statement, but taking into account more recent and latest paradigms in the field of SLA. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you at the next video.